Recently, Ukrainian troops launched a HIMARS missile attack on a Russian troop column in Makeyevka, killing a significant number of enemy personnel. This demonstrates the effectiveness of Ukrainian intelligence despite Russia's constant boasting of its electronic warfare systems. As the head of the Center for the Study of Occupation, Petr Andryushchenko, noted on air on Channel 24, the successful strike indicates that Ukraine has been able to modernize the HIMARS systems to which the Russians do not yet have an effective response. According to him, the occupiers have recently been complaining about the situation in the areas of Donetsk and Gorlovka, since new Ukrainian strikes have become significantly more accurate despite the previously effective use of electronic warfare, which affected the accuracy of targeting. Such a strike shows that we have really modernized our HIMARS systems, that the Russians have no counteraction. This means that big surprises await us at the front line. There will be more than one such column, he said. Petr Andryushchenko reported that a convoy of Russian troops was heading north from Makeyevka toward Donetsk, probably toward Chasovoy Yar. It stopped at a gas station for a break, where it came under heavy fire. Recently, the Russians felt quite confident in the rear areas between Makeyevka, Donetsk and parts of Gorlovka, since they considered these routes safe. It was difficult for Ukrainian drones to get there and artillery strikes were contained. However, the situation has changed because the attacks show that even these routes can no longer be considered protected, and now the Russian command will have to reconsider the logistics of moving equipment and personnel. They are under fire control and under the attention of the Ukrainian armed forces, explained the head of the Center for the Study of Occupation. Petr Andryushchenko noted that now the occupiers will have to look for new routes or change their movement schedules. Such changes complicate and slow down any offensive actions by the enemy. He also noted that the longer precision strikes on the rear areas are not carried out, the more the enemy loses vigilance. This creates a complacency effect, and now the occupiers have become more vulnerable. This is why it is important for the defense forces to use this situation to their advantage. Let us recall that as a result of the Ukrainian armed forces strike from the HIMARS rocket system on a column of Russian troops in the temporarily occupied Makeyevka of the Donetsk region on June the 13th, at least 8 occupiers were killed and another 12 were wounded. This was reported by the Astra publication, citing its sources. Currently, the Russian part of the internet is discussing the advisability of moving the capital of the Russian Federation from Moscow to another city or cities, and this may not be accidental. Russian military correspondent Yuri Kotenok drew attention to this in his blog, commenting on what is happening. In his opinion, it is not so much the option of moving the capital that is important, but the relocation of legislative bodies from Moscow, the State Duma and Federation Council to Siberia, and federal agencies to the cities of the European part of Russia, Ryazan, Vladimir, Tver, and others. The president and his administration should remain in Moscow. He is convinced that such a move will definitely give a huge positive boost to the developments of the regions. However, if the issue of moving the capital due to security threats from migrants is being raised at such a high level, then the danger is already on the doorstep. And the trouble is that we have brought so many migrants with our own hands to the central regions of the country, Moscow, St. Petersburg, cities where the country's finances and main industrial centers are concentrated, that this has become a direct threat to Russia's national security. The same problem has affected strategic regions where such an unacceptable number of people of other cultures, have also gathered that we are already thinking about the possibility of their uprising, he added. Kotenok is sure that the West is waging a war against the Russian Federation, so the anti-Russian protests of migrants can be considered programmed. The West is trying to destroy Russia and will do anything to achieve its goal. How this will be done and by whose hands is not important. The issue of migrants is, first and foremost, a question of our national security. We are already talking about the threat of a blockade of government buildings by visiting migrants. And this has become a reality, among other things, because there are already more migrants in Moscow than police officers. The problem cannot be solved by shrill cries about Russian fascism and mantras about a multinational people, he explained. The war correspondent noted that migrants, taking advantage of the shortage of personnel in the Russian Federation, began to penetrate into law enforcement agencies and institutions of federal and municipal power. In some Russian regions, there are entire police departments made up of representatives of other countries. Neutralized migrants willingly go to the sphere of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, but only a few go to the units of the Russian armed forces fighting in Ukraine, which is very telling. This will not lead to anything good. We have already seen similar tactics in the republics of the North Caucasus, Transcaucasia and Central Asia, when federal forces were blocked by the forces and means of local law enforcement agencies and open sabotage on the orders of the Union Center was carried out. This has already happened in modern history, but for some reason we are trying to forget about it, and in vain, he reminded. Kotenok thinks that the time may come when in some region of the Russian Federation where the ethno-confessional balance is broken, a real uprising against the Russian government may begin. For example, something similar was observed in Kosovo, which was once a Serbian region. The Serbs simply let Albanians onto their land and allowed them to live there. The result is known. Kosovo separated from Serbia. So why do you think that the West won't try the Yugoslav scenario on us? They are already trying it on. Hence the destabilization of the domestic political situation, provocations, the growth of migrant crime, which is already impossible to ignore. He summed up.